Thank you so much. Can you hear me? I'm going to have to use a microphone. I don't have that command voice like Rachel has. It's an opera singing voice. It's an honor and a pleasure for me to be here. I want to thank you for inviting me to come to Boston. Growing up, we always heard of Boston as a cold country. I left Alabama at 19 degrees. I got here at 16 degrees. So I was so happy to be here. And thank you for the hospitality of both Carl and Rachel, who went out to eat dinner last night, so I had a chance to talk to them, and we had a chance to break bread. So I really appreciate the hospitality. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming and driving great distances. Some of you drove an hour away, some of you from another state, drove an hour, and you come here to hear a message of liberty, hear a message of how we can save our nation, how we can preserve the blessings of liberty for our posterity, how we can defend the Constitution and defend our God, given our right to free will. So I'm so happy to be in Boston, but also be in this location, because before I get here, I'm going to make my way. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to go find Garrison's old home, because as I always remember, Douglas and Garrison had a relationship. So I'm going to do my best to just to peek around the corner and see what's going on around in the Rochester area, Roxbury area. All right, I got all the protocol out of the way. Let's get down to business. Let's talk about liberty. Before I even talk to you about the Fredrick Douglas Republican, can you hear me? If I say this straight up?
We're fine.
I have to leave. Before I even talk about this whole Fredrick Douglas Republican methodology, this movement, let me quickly dispel some myths that exist about this methodology. And I got to cover, because when I cover these, when I dispel these 3 or 4 myths, it's going to give you a better appreciation of what I'm going to say later. Myth number 1. Myth number 1. The myth is the Fredrick Douglas Republican movement is a black membership organization. That is not true. That is not true. To become a Fredrick Douglas Republican is not based on your ethnicity or your skin color. It's based on your belief in embracing the 4 life-empowering values of Fredrick Douglas. Respect for the U.S. Constitution is 1. I'm going to come on that side. I'm a former motivational speaker, so I don't like standing behind podiums. Respect for the U.S. Constitution is number 1. Respect for life is number 2. Number 3, the belief in limited government. In other words, I like to keep more of the money that I make. And 4, the belief in personal responsibility. That's a biblical principle. It comes out of Thessalonians. If a man doesn't work, he should not eat. So if you embrace those 4 life-empowering values, we call them life-empowering values. That's what they are. Well, then that's what makes you a Fredrick Douglas Republican. This is not a black membership organization. There's about 60,000 people right now who've been trained in this methodology, and they refer to themselves as a Fredrick Douglas Republican. 60%, almost 60% of them are white. 60%. Most of them are Tea Party activists. Most of them are Tea Party activists. Because they believe what Douglas believed in, respecting the U.S. Constitution. And so on. And it's not surprising that most of them are white, because when I first started, I took this message to conservatives. Most conservatives are white. We're going to catch up. Blacks, we're going to catch up. I just have not changed them yet. Okay? Black Americans are really conservative at heart. Now, like in my case, I was not converted to conservatism. I've always been the one, I just didn't know it. I grew up in a Christian household. So myth number 1, this is not a black membership organization. That's myth number 1. It's all inclusive, not exclusive. Myth number 2 is this, that the Fredrick Douglas Republican methodology that I'm going to share with you, that this is a methodology on how to share conservatism with black folks. No. No. This is not a methodology on how to share conservatism with black folks. This is a methodology on how to share the life and power and values of the conservative philosophy with all Americans, blacks, Latinos, women, and men. We all want liberty. We all want a God-given right for self-rule. We all want a God-given right for free will. So the training that I give, the Fredrick Douglas Republican one-on-one training, it is not diversity training. It is liberty training, Fredrick Douglass style. Okay? Myth number 3. Myth number 3 is that a white conservative cannot engage somebody of a different ethnicity. In other words, most people think that you gotta have a black person to go talk to a black person about conservatism in order for them to get it, or a Latino to talk to Latinos. Most white conservatives believe that, oh, blacks not gonna talk, they're not gonna listen to me. Stop believing that lie. Stop believing that lie. It's not true. I know some black conservatives who cannot engage black folks. I used to be one of them before God gave me this Fredrick Douglass piece. So stop believing that lie. And I put it to you this way, to prove to you that you don't have to be of a person ethnicity in order to engage them. You just have to use something that works. Who established a diversity outreach program? Who established a diversity outreach program that is still having a major impact in the world today? Jesus. It was Jehovah God, you're right. When he commissioned Paul to take the gospel to the Gentiles. Wait a minute, Paul was a Jew by ethnicity. He was commissioned to take the gospel to people of different ethnicities, different races. The Gentiles. Paul had to be trained. He was under the tutelage of Gamaliel. Conservatives have to be trained. I didn't get this. I had to be trained. I didn't get this thing right at first. You know, it's not easy being a black conservative.
We know that.
And family reunions were tough. Thanksgivings were tough. Sit at the tiny table all the time. Because I was different from everybody else in terms of my values. And I'll talk about that in a minute. It's my testimony. So those are 3 myths. This is not a black membership organization. This is not a message how to share conservatism with black folks. No. Stop believing the lies. You can't do it. You can do it. Just be trained how to do it. And the other myth is this. With the Fredrick Douglass Republican movement, we're not recruiting anyone to become Republicans. The Republican Party today does not resemble the party of Douglas. Does not. So with the Fredrick Douglass Republican movement, one of our primary objectives is this, is to help today's Republican Party get back to where it was in times of Douglas in terms of compassion and social distinction. Now, I may add this to that as well. We also advocate it really doesn't matter which party a person is in. If the person wants to be a Democrat, fine. Or Republican, fine. What I've learned, what matters most is this. The way in which you vote, does it show your love and your faithfulness to the God that you say you serve? Are you voting your values? That's what matters. Are you voting your values? But to be a Republican or a Democrat, that's your own personal choice. I have my reasons. And I'll share it with you later. So, because why? We need people in both political parties with a Fredrick Douglass perspective. Meaning that defending the Constitution. Meaning that making the life of the poor and the working poor a legislative priority. Not in terms of entitlements for a lifetime, but to elevate the poor to become employees and entrepreneurs. Give them opportunity. That's what it's all about. Because once we elevate the least of these, everybody else is elevated. Let me tell you what's going on. This whole thing about President Obama trying to get this unemployment extension, and the Republicans are fighting it, Republicans are blowing it. Because what's happening is, the perception is they don't care about the poor. Here's what they should do. Go to the president and say, look, we want to do this extension thing too, but let's, as part of this bill, whatever, let's cut corporate income tax to create an atmosphere for employment. Let them know, let Americans know the reason why we got to extend unemployment benefits because the administration has anti-small business policies.
Yes.
Let's cut some corporate taxes. Let's improve the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah.
You know, let's create some jobs. But what's happening, they're being outplayed. The Republicans, they don't get it. So now they're coming across, they don't care about the poor. Some of them don't care about the poor. That's why we got the Republican Party recaptures political distinction. They got to negotiate that thing.